Thanks so much for staying with us. We remind you to download the CVM TV app from the Google Play Store. The police have confirmed that one person died in a horrific crash along Mandela Highway this afternoon. Several others were injured. More from Irvin Forbes.
Sought to enter the premises.
Sunday sorrow along Mandela, a multi-vehicle pile-up on Jamaica's busiest highway. It happened in the vicinity of Plantation Heights, a new section of the under-construction highway which has a temporary 2 lanes in either direction and no soft shoulder. The crash left a woman dead on the scene. Several other persons were taken to hospital. In a cruel twist, the accident involved a hearse. Apart from the hearse, a garbage truck and 3 other vehicles ended up in the accident. It's not clear how exactly it occurred. However, it's understood the deceased was thrown from one of the vehicles. The ill-fated vehicles were removed from the scene later Sunday afternoon. The westbound lane of the highway was closed temporarily. In addition to the scores of other motorists, a number of funeral processions were also inconvenienced. The westbound lane was eventually reopened, easing some of the traffic snarl from Washington Boulevard, snaking onto Mandela Highway. The traffic backup also affected the Portmore Toll Road. With the expanded Mandela Highway expected to be ready this summer, there is now renewed fear and concern about the roadway. Concerns relate to the speeds at which some motorists drive, the narrow corridors now in place, and access points for pedestrians. Irvin Forbes, CVM Live.
And the National Road Safety Council is intensifying its call on all road users to practice safety. I'm joined on the phone now by Vice Chairman of the NRSC, Dr. Lucian Jones. Good evening, Dr. Jones.
Good evening, Colin.
An opportunity, sir, for you to tell the nation if there are any particular concerns about Mandela Highway at this time.
I think the first appropriate thing, Colin, is to offer condolences to especially the Argentina family. I gather that the lady who died is the mother of a family, of a staff member of that company. So I want to underscore the reality is that this is a terrible human tragedy and not just a bit of data or statistics. The second thing I want to underscore is that it would be reasonable to understand this happening because she was not wearing a seatbelt, or if the seatbelt failed otherwise. And if we want to make the point that seatbelt saves lives, data has been showing for a very long time that you can reduce the risk of serious injury by 50%. You can reduce the risk of dying by 45%. As far as the Mandela is concerned, this is a work in progress. This is the second major crash we have had. There was one last year when a truck overturned and someone died. So we want to underscore again that people need to be extremely cautious when they are driving on the Mandela. It is meant to improve the roads. It's meant to improve the time at which people can traverse from point A to point B. But we must underscore that this is a work in progress, and therefore people need to slow down. I drive on a road every day, and the kind of speeds I see people driving at is just crazy. So the central message here is to slow down. One of the things we need to get into the Jamaican psyche and the Jamaican culture is that although this is a matter of grief and pain and, right now family members are crying, but it's not just a local issue. It's a serious national developmental issue because the data coming out of the UN and we're a nation facing serious problems achieving growth is that you can lose up to 2 to 3% of your GDP because of road crashes. And in fact, there's good data coming out of a cost of care study done last year by the university, which shows that the cost in a particular year, I think that was 2012, the total cost of crashes to the country was $3.2 billion, 1.4 billion direct cost to the hospitals, and $1.8 billion in indirect costs in terms of productivity. So we're talking about serious money here when you consider that the total health budget is about $70 billion. So the key thing really is for us to try and slow down on the Mandela, wait until the road is complete, and even then you have to drive according to the speed limit and be very careful. But the critical factor really is to make sure that as you get into your car, you put on your seatbelt. It's a law in Jamaica, and I know that some taxi drivers are guilty of either not providing a seatbelt or not ensuring that people wear their seatbelts. It is a law. We want to underscore the fact again that the police will come down hard on you. But you yourself, every single person going in a car, driver or passenger, put on your seatbelt, whether you're in the front or in the back. It will save your life.
Right. We also wish to extend our condolences at this time. Sir, are you expecting any additional procedures, therefore, to increase safety along that highway?
Yes, in fact, I spoke to Superintendent Cooper, who is head of traffic, and he's in discussion with the National Road Agency as to how we can work out a safer way for people to traverse that particular corridor. I think the discussions are going to be good, and you'll probably hear more about it tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jones.
Okay, thank you.
Investigations continue to dig deep into the circumstances and implications of yesterday's marathon confrontation in the Ironshore area of St. James, which led to the death of a wanted man. The firepower in Hatfield, Ironshore, Montego Bay, St. James, Saturday afternoon into late evening was heavy and persistent. Armed civilians linked to gangs in Lilliput, another community in the Western Parish, on the inside, embedded in the community. Some were inside this building, we were told. Joint police military teams becoming the target of the gunmen's revenge.
What is interesting and persons must realize, and it speaks to the state of emergency, is that the police was able, be acting on their own intelligence, to come to these premises. They sought to enter the premises in the search of this particular person that their intelligence would have indicated was here without a warrant.
The exchange of gunfire lasting some 2 hours, CVM Live was told. Official word circulating from the police communication arm was 4 of its members were shot, 3 were treated and released. However, the status of 1 officer hospitalized has been listed as serious. This man, Nico Samuels, popularly known as Bowser, wanted in the parish for a 2017 triple killing, was inside the house. They say he was at the helm of the gun war. Allegations are, as the situation got more intense, the surrounding took on a hostage-like atmosphere. Persons in the community ordered to stay in, and no one should venture close to the upscale Hatfield neighborhood because Bowser and his men were well armed, and even with helicopters hovering, he wasn't prepared to go out without a battle. When the explosion ceased, however, Nico Samuels was listed as fatally wounded. Sunday afternoon, Councillor Charles Sinclair was at the location, pointing to the troubling nature of this incident and arguing contrary to those questioning the extension of the enhanced security measures.
We have heard some persons saying the state of emergency should not be extended in St. James. What this is telling us is that the police, and they have said it publicly, and I will repeat it here, which is that the state of emergency activities now is moving into another phase. The police would have gathered sufficient information in the first part of the state of emergency, on which they are now acting and moving to specific targets, because this was a specific target under intelligence gathering.
Stay the course, he says, while heaping praises on those involved.
Whose apartment is it? How did this person of interest have access to that apartment? So it is going to be moving on to who are the facilitators of crime.
Meanwhile, a felon who absconded bail and was sentenced to 35 years in prison in absentia for a murder in December of 2009 has been captured. He was captured on Friday, April 26 in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, which is under a state of emergency. He is Devon Harriott, who was charged jointly with O'Shane Coley and Michael Jacobs. Harriott, who eluded the justice system for 2 years, was captured by lawmen on Wellington Street in the old capital. Police say after he absconded bail, he assumed the identity of a dead man and produced an identification card under that name when he was questioned. However, intense investigation led to the uncovering of his real identity. On the other hand, professional bailer man James Bailey, 49-year-old of Marcus Garvey Drive, Greenwich Farm in Kingston, pleaded guilty to 3 counts of uttering forged document and attempting to pervert the course of justice. This following his arrest for his involvement in having Harriet bailed in 2017. He's scheduled to appear in the St. Andrew Parish Court on May 8. Now, coming out of the Blue Economy public lecture and panel discussion held at the UE regional headquarters recently, Kingston hotelier Glenn Bromfield believes with Cuba opening up for a business and new administration in power, Jamaica is going to face great challenges in making the transition to a blue economy. More in this report from CVM Live's Vaughan Thorpe.
According to the World Bank, the blue economy is sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods and jobs, while preserving the health of marine and coastal ecosystem. Glenn Bromfield believes if Jamaica is to make the transition to a blue economy, we have to secure our borders.
Border control. A border control for national security is useful and one of the critical areas. And from time to time you do hear the police make statement to the fact that they are not too comfortable with our the control of our borders.
According to the World Bank, by 2030, it is predicted that the entire sea economy could be generating $3 trillion annually. However, the hotelier added that with Cuba, a neighboring island that shares the Caribbean waters, and opening up to the world for business, that is going to be one of our greatest challenges.
I believe that the new leader, and I repeat, the new leader is not a Castro. Castro has, at least, they can control their party business, but this is a businessman. I suspect this man that is now the president of Cuba is a strong businessman, and his presence as the leader of Cuba, as a business world, is going to be a major challenge for Jamaica, and we better wake up and understand that.
He's also asking for corporate Jamaica to invest more in agriculture, not excluding cannabis.
Those of us who have the understanding of the whole issue at hand, get on board, get it be known, and get on board and assist in getting these subject, agriculture, and medical marijuana to be one of the subjects that is being taught all over Jamaica.
Vaughan Thorpe, CVM Live.
The next series of investments is set to take off at St. James's Sangster International Airport. MBJ Airports, the operators of the airport, is now ready to embark on $200 million in expansion projects. While addressing MBJ's 15th anniversary awards function, Transport Minister Robert Montague highlighted the 3 projects coming on stream.
These include rehabilitation of the taxiways, the renovation of the Customs and Immigration Hall, and the extension of the runway, which now will facilitate heavy aircrafts taking off from Montego Bay and being able to reach as far as Turkey. And the next time you expand, we will head to China.
Next week, on the 4th, next Friday, we will be receiving the proposals for the next phase of development. We have invited the best companies in the world when it comes to airport engineering and architecture to present their proposals. And so we are very, very excited. And of course, we are going to be addressing the issues that you just raised. We are fully aware that we need to improve, among other things, the immigration process. And we are, believe me, working on that very, very hard, together with our stakeholders here in Jamaica, and in that particular case with PICA.
Minister Montague also announced that the Airports Authority of Jamaica has been mandated to explore the possibility of a small advisory board for the airport.
I see no reason why some small, easy-to-do decisions cannot be made locally, why it has to be shipped to Kingston. As a matter of fact, in that vein, the board will be exploring subcommittees at every aerodrome where a member of the board will become the local chair of that aerodrome. We must involve the community in the facilities that we operate, because we operate on behalf of the community.
The Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica continues to promote energy diversification and the incorporation of renewables into the country's energy mix through its Schools Energy Program Science Competition. The science competition requires students to design and build a model solar energy system that could provide energy for their respective schools. More from Vaughan Thorpe.
With 12 primary and secondary schools participating in the science category of the competition, the PCJ is pleased with the models entered this year.
I'm quite impressed. We're happy because they're the next generation coming up. So seeing that sort of enthusiasm, and a lot of them are learning many things. And again, it's a very important area. So very pleased.
The competition, which started in 2003, allowed each school to enter a maximum of 2 teams in the age categories 9 to 12, 13 to 15, and 16 to 19 years, with each team having no more than 4 persons. For the display, students from the schools entered models with windmills, solar panels, and biogas conversion.
They are being very creative, thinking out of the box. And what we're looking for is just how real life these things are. The primary thing is that they're designed so that it's something that can be used at their school, because there is a prize for the 16 to 19 category.
One of the schools will be walking away with the prize money for the implementation of their project under the guidance and supervision of the PCJ's Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Department in June. Vaughan Thorpe, CVM Live.
The National Commercial Bank Group has made record profits for the 6 months leading up to the end of the 2017-2018 financial year. This according to Group Chief Financial Officer and Deputy CEO Dennis Cohen while speaking at the investors briefing on Friday. CVM Live Nicole Wilson reports.
The National Commercial Bank NCB Group has made $11 billion in profits for the 6 months ended March 31, 2018. According to Group Chief Financial Officer Dennis Cohen, only 2 companies have earnings of this amount on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. This is significant as the NCB Group has just acquired a new subsidiary.
That this is our first income statement consolidated with our newest subsidiary, the Clarion Group. When compared to the prior year, you will see that our net profit for the 6-month period grew by $1.4 billion, or 15% over the prior year. The results were driven by our continued focus on our strategic priorities and, of course, most importantly, our continued team collaboration. Our results are underpinned by an impressive 23% growth in our revenues.
Cohen adds that return on equity increased by some 18.5%, while earnings per share is up 15%, consistent with the increased profits. Speaking specifically about the March quarter results, he says net profit increased 7% over 2017, which he attributes to growth in specific areas.
The improved earnings were driven by gains on investment securities, driven by increased demand and reduced availability of Government of Jamaica paper. We have also had an increase in net interest income due to growth in our loans and investment securities portfolios.
He notes that operating revenues for the NCB Group increased by 23%, amounting to some $6.6 billion.
The main increase in operating revenues was a $3.5 billion increase from investment activities and foreign exchange income. This performance has been fueled by the domestic macroeconomic conditions, leading to less Government of Jamaica borrowing and consequently greater market liquidity.
Nicole Wilson, CVM Live.
This is CVM Live. We go to a break ahead of news from overseas.